which is Periscope, on Instagram, and also on my YouTube channel at Dr. Monica Cox. I want to say hello to everyone. Thank you so much for helping me to test this out. I am on Instagram, so if you see me kind of looking down here, this is Instagram. I am also kind of across multiple platforms, and so I'm going to tell you what I'm going to talk about today. I kind of gave you a heads up, but last week on Twitter, I asked some people if they could, I'm going to put it this way. I asked some people if they could give me some questions about being a department. That was my former position that I was in. And I want to say the reason that I want to present to you this way is because I wrote this book called Demystifying the Engineering PhD. It's available on Amazon, Elsevier, and we talked about teaching in the broadest sense of the word. And so I think that this is a form of teaching. Many people are at home and you just want to learn some different things. So I'm just going to use this time to answer your questions, but also kind of teach you something about things that I have learned. So for some reason, I'm not able to see the chat on Periscope. I think that I might be able to on YouTube. So I'm still trying to figure this out. So please just be patient with me as I am live here. Hopefully I can mute myself. Yes, I am muted. And so if you do have chat, you can chat with me here on Instagram. You can chat with me on YouTube as well. So let me get started. So I'm just talking about being a department chair, and someone asked me, what would you do about those old head faculty who retire in place? So this is Dr. Carlotta Berry, my bad day buddy, who asked this. What do you do about those old head faculty who retire in place, have full professor and tenure, but won't mentor students, don't do any research, they don't want to teach any classes, they don't want to learn new technologies, and they're mad grumpy? First of all, you pray, because that's a bad situation to be in. I think that, there are different things that people would say to do. I think there are those like political things that you do, and then there are the real things that you do when you're a department chair. So the political things that people often say are, put people in their areas of strength. So if they are really good at something, whatever that is, whether it's committee work or service, then you put them in that position. If you hope that there is something that they can do well, because unfortunately the system is set up so that you do not, you can't really do anything, with those faculty. And it's kind of the perpetuation of a system where you have to kind of endure. And so I think that's what happens administratively, but I think as a colleague, that also can kind of be difficult as well. And I can also say, as a full professor, I think you do go through different points in your life where, you're learning, you're still developing, whether people realize it or not. And, it's a process. And so I learn to have more sympathy, or empathy for people who are in that situation. And you hope that they can grow in whatever space they are in the academy. So that's the answer for that one. The next one, this is from Dr. Yvette Pearson. So how do you develop and lead a new department in a way that prevents it from falling into the rut of status quo? So I think you hope that you have people who want to be a part of something new. So let's just talk about leading anything, that is new. You want it to be a space that people are excited about. You want it to be a place that is full of energy. And I think the lesson that I learned is that you have to balance the old and the new. So there are some people who will never change, and there are some people who want nothing but change. And as a leader, you have to figure out how to balance that. Also have to delegate. So find people's areas of strength, put them in those areas of strength, and, just kind of go from there. So it's very strategic. It's very much about planning. It's very much about constant improvement and evaluation. So next, the Makowitz Lab is asking on Twitter, how do you plan on changing the culture to be more inclusive where faculty can feel a sense of belonging? What do you do? What do you need to be successful to do this work? So once again, how do you plan on changing the culture to be more inclusive where faculty can feel a sense of belonging? So sense of belonging is really important. And when you think about sense of inclusion, it is about realizing that there is not a one-size-fits-all model of doing work. So inclusivity is about representing the diverse perspectives that everyone brings to your team and to your organization. So you need to find ways for people to find themselves. So it's even similar to the first question. When you have people who don't want to be a part of that organization, then what do? Well, you're trying to find a space. You're trying to find a place where they do want to participate, where they do feel seen and heard and want to be a part of it. And so I think that on the leader to be more inclusive, this is not something that is just natural. It's just not something that's going to happen organically. Like, you have to be very deliberate about putting processes, policies, and ways of doing and being in place so that inclusivity is at the core of what you want to do. And so that is my advice for anyone. If you're talking about inclusivity, you need to do your research. You need to really check in. You need to assess. You're going to continue to hear me say the same things. It's about strategy. It's about assessment. It's about planning. It's about really being intentional about what you want to do and what you want to see as a leader. And so your goals are always at your forefront. Are in front of your mind. If inclusivity is a goal, then you have to keep in front of you, and you have to try to find a way to move in that direction. So I think to be successful, it's about a team, it's about accountability, it's about a lot of stuff. It's very intentional. So I think that's the way I'll end that question. So Dorian Traub, I'm not sure if I am pronouncing your name properly, asked me, given the changing higher ed landscape, where would you recommend department heads or chairs turn for business model training to support their duties? Many do not receive this in any part of their training. So I love this question. And by the way, I have not prepared any of these questions beforehand. So these are just fresh, like I see them. So the big question that I would connect to here is, if you're in higher education, do you need to have a business degree? Do you need to study business? Do you need to know anything about business? And I would say the answer is yes. I do think that business is important, because when you are looking at an organization and you're leading that organization, you need to know about human resources. You need to know about budgets. You need to know about policies, processes. You need to know about structure, like organizational structure. You need to know about dynamics and people and all the intricacies that kind of come from this. So I would say that you need to read business books. The Harvard Business Review is something that I often find. I love Fast Company, the magazine, a really quick read. You can look at it online, anything like Entrepreneur Magazine, Inc. What else would I say? You're just constantly learning. Look at people on social media who do this work well. So I've looked at a lot of people who are entrepreneurs. And when you think about starting an organization, many times people would think of it as a startup. And so what do you need, with a startup? You need to make sure that you have structure, make sure that, like I said, policies, processes, and procedures are clear. Make sure that you have the right team, that you have people who understand what they need to do and how they need to do what they're doing. All of this is really important. I think you also need to make sure that you understand like what the processes are from an accountability perspective of doing right with compliance. And so there are certain ways that an organization needs to operate. And so that is a business piece as well. Looking at the guidebooks, looking at the standard practices. That's something that's really important. So you can tell I'm going off about this because I love talking about the business aspects of things. And I think that it's really important to explore that. So get your hands on really great business resources. Look at people who are successful outside of academia. And I'm going to kind of go in just a different direction. But one other thing I see about higher ed and business is that, higher ed can be extremely slow. So, when people get stuff done, they kind of do it on their own time, and we have to think and ponder, and it's very philosophical, but business is very sharp. It's very much driven by numbers. It's driven by, outcomes and outputs. So I think that it's always good to have that in your wheelhouse. If you're going to be an administrator, if you're going to run a research group, if you're going to manage any person, you need to be aware of business processes. And so you don't have to get an MBA for it, but I think that you do have to read, you have to stay abreast, you have to connect to people who can help you to be sharper. So that was a long answer to one of my favorite questions, because as I said, I love talking about business. So next, for those people who are joining me a little bit late, I'm talking about being a department chair. I'm answering questions that people have given me from Twitter. And I hope that this will help people who are thinking about being a chair or a head. So backtracking just a little bit, we're thinking about, what does the department chair do? This is a person who kind of oversees a department, kind of what it sounds like, but there's like the business part, but then there's like the personnel aspect as well. And as a former department chair, I'm just answering a couple of questions. People have asked me certain questions offline. People are starting in their positions as chairs, as leaders, and I just wanted to kind of answer some questions that I put out last week. So that's where we are. So I am on Instagram. I am on YouTube. I am on Periscope. So wherever you are looking at this, hello, good morning, good afternoon, hi. So answering several questions from Carlotta Berry, who is asking this once again on Twitter. And it's, did you really want this job? Ooh, that's a good question. Did I really want this job? I wanted the job, yes, because I think that a lot of people, and a lot of research says this too, but there are a lot of people who enter administrative positions who have no formal experience. And I do have a PhD in leadership and policy studies. So from the time that I was 19 years old, I felt that this was a path that I wanted to go on. I was very deliberate about this path, very deliberate about leadership, very deliberate about studying, and like organizational management, etc. So to me, this was just a natural progression. So yes. Is it worth the money? At the beginning of this, I said that you have sometimes the political answer that you give, and then you have like the other answer you give. And when I think about it, is it worth the money? The answer is probably not. That's a terrible thing to say, probably, but it's the realist answer of all. You do not get paid enough money to do this job. So for anyone, if this is like a recruitment video, you just need to delete it right now, because no, it is really not worth the money. At least I do not think so. I do not think you get paid enough for what you have to do in this position, for the wear and tear in this position. And, just as a side note, I think there are people who say it's an amazing job. Okay, ask them about something else. Ask them about, I don't know, maybe it's the infrastructure that's amazing, or maybe there's something else that's going on. But I would say being a department chair is a job that is good to do for a few years maybe, but everything has to be in place. Like, the processes have to be in place. The supervisory, like the leadership has to be right. I think the resources need to be right. I think the support needs to be right. The alignment and the commitment to being on one accord or on the same page has to be right. You really need to have things in place to do a good job and for it to be worth it. So that was a very long answer. Next, do you have a passion for leadership? And so maybe this is something that you would ask. Let me see. Is she asking a general? If you could ask any question to a department chair, what would you ask? Do you have a passion for leadership? And so she's just kind of putting this out, I think, as things that people need to do. And so I think that's cool. Like, you do need to ask someone, do they care about leadership? Because if you don't like leading, this is not the right job for you. And there's a book by, an article or maybe a book by Kotter, Kotter, and it talks about the differences between management and leadership. And, leadership is really about establishing that vision. It is about really saying, like, this is where we're going to go. And, the management aspect of the job comes with, like, this is what it's going to take to get there. So you have to have a combination of leadership and management as you are moving forward. And I think you want to make sure that if you are hiring someone, that person does have the ability to engage that way. They do not have to be an automatic leader, but they have to have the capacity to learn. They have to have a desire to want to lead, a desire to want to manage, a desire to learn, a desire to hear from others. And I hope that the person would ideally be inclusive. So you want to also ask the person, what's the vision for diversifying your department? So Dr. Berry's coming at that from a perspective as a woman of color. And I think that's really great. If someone cannot answer that question for you, I think that you need to really explore that, because I think so often people will say one way to diversify your department is to just add numbers, just hire more people. And it's not just about quantity, it's about quality. And many people don't think about that. Just because you have the money, that does not mean that is going to make your environment great. And that does not mean that you're going to retain anyone. So you need to think about that too. So another question she asked is that relate to leadership style. You want to ask someone, what's your leadership style? Honestly, the average person cannot even answer what their leadership style is because they don't understand what leadership styles are. Some people may say, I like people or I don't like people, but that's not a leadership style. So, there are, once again, books out there, some aspects of leadership when you're thinking about whether you're a servant leader, are you a transformational leader? What type of leader are you? So really try to hone in on that in the same way that you try to learn about teaching philosophy statements or something like that. Having a leadership style is very real, and you can have a combination of leadership styles. You can have things that you are working on, but you need to have a leadership style. And then what are your long-term goals for the department? That comes back to leadership and to visioning. If you don't know where the department is going to be in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, if you don't even have like this overarching thing of saying like, we are trying to be X, Y, and Z, then you need to figure out how to do that. And that comes back to management, leadership, strategic planning, accountability, really making sure that processes and policies are in place so that you can execute in the way that you need to. So, out of all those questions that you gave, Carlotta, the ones that you offered, I just want to say you want someone who is participatory. You want someone who is visionary. You want someone who does not cave in. I haven't talked about courage yet, but I feel like courage is really important. And I think there's also this balance between what you do in your unit versus where you are in your organization. And I think that there's something about ethics that has to come in as well. So really making sure that this person is able to handle everything that is happening within that organization, everything that will happen in that organization. I will say that many times when people come in as leaders, you do not know what is going to happen. So we are in a pandemic, for example, and who would have thought that they would lead in a pandemic? And so if you have a leader, you want to think about someone who can lead in the best of times and someone who can lead in the worst of times. So is this someone who can take you through a lack of resources? Is there someone who can take you through the death of someone very vital maybe in your organization? You know, is it someone who could take you through the worst of times as well as the best, as I said before? So I think that's, in summary, what I would even say about a leader, about a chair, about any person who is going to move an organization forward. You want that person to be the one who you're not afraid to have at the helm. You hope that this person will be the last one standing, the one who will look out for you, the one who will be your advocate, the one who will be your voice. You hope that this person will be the person that you would trust with all of your resources and with your future, because that's pretty much what it means to be a department chair or head, in my opinion. And you want to also ask the person, this is from Nazarin Basiri Garb, and she's asking why. You want to ask someone, why do you want this job? And she says, I hate the people that answer, I didn't. And then they think it's a good answer. If you're not passionate about what you do, you shouldn't take a position just to make more money or put it on a CV. Amen, amen, amen to that one, because the money is not that great, usually. So why do you want this job? If it's for power, this is the authenticity part. So for people who know me, you know, my new thing is being an authenticity coach. And I think I've always been an activist. I've always been really transparent. And, you know, this is the jokes part of the session today. So why do you want this job? You know, when people are saying like, I want it, like you said, for a title, sweetie, this is not it. There are so many other things that you could do that would give you a title. There are so many other things that you could do that would pay you more money, because the mantle, the heaviness that comes with this job, excuse me, y'all had me almost spit on that. The heaviness that comes with this job is on another level. Like there is a grace that comes with this job. There is almost an anointing, if I can like go into the spiritual realm for a moment, that has to come with this job, because it is like taking on the job of a counselor, taking on the job of a police officer. You are a magician. You are a parent. You are an engineer, obviously, because you're crafting things. You're a business person. Like, you're so many things. You are all things. And I just don't even know if there's any good training that prepares you for it, because people are people, and people in crisis are interesting. People who want resources, limited resources, finite resources, are interesting. People who don't understand the bigger picture are interesting. People who see their part of the world and maybe only see that are interesting. People who have never worked with diverse people are interesting. People who just don't like their jobs are also interesting. So, you know, there's so much out there. So if you want, once again, this to be on your CV, you know, no. So this is really, it's a service job, really, service. And so let me see if there's anything else. If you have any other questions, let me know for Instagram. If you have any other questions in some other spaces. I want to play with Periscope for just a moment. I wish that I could kind of see what is going on. I just feel that right now I cannot see the comments. And so there's something that I am missing. Oops, sorry, on Periscope. So let me turn that off real quick. And I think that's about it. In other words, for those of you who are here, what are the takeaways? The takeaways are that you have to really, if you're a person of faith, pray about, you know, taking a job like this. I think I mentioned the mantle part. I mentioned the seriousness of this job. Like, you are taking on responsibilities that you may not have ever taken on before. And I think to be a good chair, you have to be very thoughtful and insightful about what is going on. You have to be very poised. You have to be cool under pressure because there is a lot of pressure. You need to find a way to take care of yourself. And that is physically, that is mentally, that is spiritually, that is every way that you could possibly take care of yourself. I would also say that this position, if you are in a relationship, will impact that relationship as well, because you, like, everything that you carry on you, everything that is a part of you in that position goes with you. It does not go away, because there can be, a 24-hour response. Like, you're just on all the time, and you have to find a way to calm your mind, to calm your spirit, to really take care of yourself, because at the end of the day, you are still going to need to live. So I want to thank everyone. I'm going to see if there are any more questions that have kind of come in, but I do want to thank everyone who joined me. If you have questions, you can ask those questions to me on Twitter at Dr. Monica Cox. You can subscribe to my YouTube page. You can go to my website, drmonicacox.com. You can buy my book, Demystifying the Engineering PhD, if you want to know more about that topic. And so just continue to ask me questions. And so I'll probably do this periodically if there are certain things that you want to know based on my experience, some other ideas, being a Black woman, being a Black woman professor, being a mother, what else you want to, being a businesswoman, all these things. I can talk about any of that. So once again, get in touch with me. Have a great day. We are almost going into the weekend. Yes, thank you. And I will be in touch. So, all right, y'all. Take care. Thank you for joining me today. Instagram Live. I'm about to be out. Thank you so much. And Restream, I am about to be out as well. So thank you so much.